Welcome to Old Gray Bricks. Thank you for joining us today. It is December. It is mid-December. Christmas is in your 7-day forecast now. So if you have not gone to Atlanta Brick Company or the Bricks and Minifigs where my son works, you are behind on your Christmas shopping. But hello, everyone. Welcome. We already have some folks in the chat before we get to our panel tonight. Goober is here saying Suey, and if you don't know, that actually literally was my nickname in high school. So thank you very much. I was the Goob in high school.
Suey, but Goober.
It was Goober. Yeah. Now Suey is that was a different story. But anyway.
Yeah, because knowing that your nickname was Goober and that I was actually taking your comment as that your nickname was Suey, which makes it even more entertaining, but still.
Both of them work.
No. Yeah. Well, that just means I'm going to the buffet. Anyway, Grumpy J is here. Hello. Stever is here. Moto, yes, we're wrapping it up. Moto, battery powered bricks. Hello. There we go. 1 minute late. I'm not. Am I? Were we? Oh, maybe we were. I don't know.
Possibly.
All right. We lost tens of viewers by being late tonight. So it has been tradition where we have had contestants on the show but I didn't have time to make that happen. So we've got what we got here. However, thanks to Stephen and Mark for being here with us, who are Lego folks here. Steve, you have an invitation, I do believe, sir. Join us if you'd like. Brian Anderson also here with us. So yeah. All right, so it was the finale. It was the end of season 4. It really feels like it was just yesterday that first or second season was filming, and it's hard to believe we're at season 4. From what I understand, from what I've heard, that season 5 actually is in the can and is in editing right now. And then tonight we've got season of the holiday special starting tonight. And so we'll try not to run over into that too much and everything. So yeah, all right. So were there Nexo references in the final builds? Were they?
There better not have been, or I'm gonna boycott this thing.
We do silently revel in the fact that the new Mtron figure, which I know you two are excited about, has a Nexo helmet on it, and that makes our life complete. So.
It's a good mold. Fair enough.
Carry on. All right. So we'll get to talking about it. What did you guys just think of the format of the show? I guess the last episode kind of is what it is, right? Go build something for 24 hours, which is great. There was a couple of reveals and everything. Let's talk about the challenge at the end real quick.
What challenge at the end? Them trying to figure out which one was the best?
Oh, no. No, we'll talk about that challenge in a minute.
What challenge are you talking about, Chris?
Well, the challenge is, I don't know. Do you think, because it looked like every build had the story of the builders in it? Like, I don't know if that may have been in the brief to build your story into it. It was to build big.
Oh,
and do you think there was any other limitations or expectations put on them?
I think there were, and I think that's what they didn't tell us. Because
what do you suspect they were?
Well, I think they definitely, I mean, you kind of glossed over a little bit that there was definitely tell us a story about you and your partner in this build and in your journey or something along those lines, which I kind of felt like they've done this before, and it wasn't a final challenge. It felt more like, hey, this was like an episode 1, 2, or 3 challenge, even though we're giving you 24 hours to do something big.
Right.
So
remember what Wayne built? Okay, y'all build that again, right? Because that's what they did. They built their family story in the tower, right? And anyway, and I would love to know if the announcement that this is going to be a set. I suppose it was at the beginning. So was that part of the criteria of judging and like, hey, this needs to be settable for them to consider, or do you think that was a consideration?
I have a theory. In our season, they said make sure it definitely it's your story, it's your journey, and all these kind of vague things about you. And you can interpret that very literally and just put your family having a picnic in the scene, or you can kind of make it your like just kind of it's your style, it's your vibe, and you can even put yourselves in the moth kind of. But yeah.
All right, there's punch number one.
Oh no.
Yeah, this is going to be
I hear it.
yeah.
Moto has a strong point about character-driven builds. We didn't see a character this time around, which is interesting. We didn't really see one in season 3 particularly either. We mostly saw for season 3 we saw like landscapes and city backdrops and characters running around in these environments. Like the bookcase had characters in the environment necessarily. Yeah, he he wrote that the character-driven builds are the ones that win. Well, that's true, but it's easier for you to put your emotion onto them. I think what made this one feel a little disconnected this time around for maybe some viewers, I thought it was great, but no single major sculpture is a character. Oh,
Yeah,
Mono, I feel you, man. I feel you.
It has worked in the past. Yeah.
It's a really vague prompt. Build whatever you want. It is a nice shirt. That's a very vague prompt.
It didn't feel, but it didn't feel like a build whatever you want vibe. I mean, it really kind of felt like they were trying to channel something specific versus a build what you want kind of thing. And even, I mean, and we talked about that even last season, the finale builds were very theme built. Like there was, and then they threw in, you have to incorporate a piece or two from a couple of these classic sets. Again, it was, hey, let's make a challenge out of the finale, not let's let you be as creative as you want to be and go and just blow the doors off. So it felt like there was constraints, and again, not a final finale episode of what I was expecting.
Yeah. And let me just go ahead and do the disclaimer right now. 4 of the 6 people in this room have never been in this moment. And we are armchair quarterbacking it. They are retired quarterbacking it. So, we're giving our opinions.
Small Paul's here, so it's 5, not 4.
Small Paul's here.
Oh, yeah. Small Paul's
Yeah.
Well, he's not eligible.
Unless you're not telling us something.
We're super rusty. It's all even discussion here. I think at this
It's
point.
been a while, but we do. Oh, go ahead.
No, well, here's a good disclaimer. Nothing but respect for the teams that have been in the show. Our opinions of what's going on and everything is just opinions and everything. So more of our criticism probably goes to show and production than it does to what is being built, because nothing but respect for what is being built. Okay. Even people who got sent home early, still massive respect. They made it to the show. They were able to go through and make it on the show and do a great job. So just that disclaimer again, no personal disrespect intended, because we have nothing but respect for everybody that was on the show, and we appreciate them, appreciate what they do to bring people to the hobby, to buy more Lego so we can get Lego too. And by the way, our Walmarts have 2024 Lego on the shelves. Anyway, so go to your Walmart and check it out.
Or it could be in your build room. So
yeah. My Walmart had everything except for space, and I'm mad about it. But anyway.
and I have to say that Aaron knocked this out. This is I just a small segue. Aaron knocked this ship out. It is very
out?
cool.
The
He
what?
knocked it out. He just knocked it out of the park. I mean,
the ship. Okay,
yeah.
I got it.
What? A ramjet? Oh,
yeah,
man.
I mean, and it pops up the power core here. I mean, look at the profile on that. It's very classic space-esque.
It is very the logo spaceship.
Yes.
You're right.
It is very the logo spaceship.
It is very the logo spaceship.
That's cool.
I would have originally thought that when Aaron got put on City, because I know a lot of junior designers get put in City, that would have been like, oh man, I'm stuck in City for however long. This was worth it. This is worth it being in City. So yeah. And then
All right.
Anyway,
and Aaron, another graduate of
Small
the
tangent.
program of Lego Masters and everything.
Yeah.
Great that he's there. One of is that now 4 or 3 that have gone on from the show to be on the 3.
3.
I think at least
Three.
3.
Aaron Moto or Aaron Boone. What's his name from season
David.
4? David.
Yeah, David Geddes.
So there's only 3 of them?
Yep, that's Dave, Boone, and Aaron. I think. Yeah,
I think that's it. Yeah, that's just those 3.
so far.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
So
sure
far.
that's the
Yeah,
case.
you got some from other seasons, other countries. All right. So back to the thing. So disclaimer. So as we talk about this stuff, I've never not sat under a clock to build something bigger than my car on TV for people to pick apart like me. So nothing but respect. So when we talk about what's going on and the judging and things like that, it is still massive respect that you could do any of this, even if you were second runner up or third place, which is the same thing.
Runner up. What is?
Miscongeniality. I don't know. Anyway. All right. So back to the show. We'll get to that. So we don't know a lot of the inside scenes. We don't know how it was broken up. We don't know how much rest they got. You guys got you got like a week's rest or a couple days rest before you got to your final build, right?
We had the weekend, one day, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't much, unfortunately, but it was a nice Sunday. I do want to mention, so talking about the team specifically going into the finale, I've noticed that these guys are all really good at listening to Amy and Jamie. Like all these guys, they don't like to jump off and do their own thing unless they have a very good reason to do it. Christopher Roberts roller coaster, for example. Yeah. But I've noticed that they're all really attentive to Amy and Jamie. Like if they say something, they really consider it. There's not a lot of pushback from these guys generally on the judges,
Which is smart.
So,
That's smart. That's smart
it's
gameplay.
very smart.
Very
It's
smart
a really
gameplay.
good idea. Yeah, it's that's how you do it.
Yeah.
So I think they probably, once the judges said do whatever you like. By the way, we want to see color, we want to see technical build, we want to see you in the model. That's a prompt. That's a prompt for them. And I think they grabbed onto it a little too much because there was a lot of family stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And if you're in the finale and you get to build whatever you want, maybe you were anticipating a little prompt, maybe you could your brain would probably gravitate to what the judges are telling you right then and there. With us, we did do us in the build, but we did it a lot different. We didn't have like our family in a picnic or whatever or something. Right. We're in his hand being held, and we made the characters really tiny, so you make the guy look even bigger. So there's that. You know, we did get a family sort of prompts. Put yourself in the model, and that also adds story, my own personal story, or our own personal story of.
We kept it subtle as possible, and just literally a ruler to gauge how big it is. So
yeah. But you don't want to overplay that. And the danger of overplaying that is you alienate people who don't know your family, right? We were talking about this in the green room earlier. If you don't know what sort of foods your family cooked on this holiday or whatever, like, I don't know what you're doing here. Like, this doesn't, I have a family, but my family story is completely different or something like that. So you have to keep that personality down a little bit. It has to be accessible for someone else's imagination. That's what really lands a sweet model in the end, in my humble opinion.
Right. And if you're like, hey, make a set of my family, well, nobody wants to see my dad chewing tobacco on a set. So my family story is not going to be exactly exciting and accessible for everybody on the planet. And I would love to see a Lego printed Red Man to chewing tobacco. I'm sorry, America's Best chewing tobacco pack, because that would be amazing, right? So that's what I need to get Dad for Christmas. Let me write that down. But yeah, so that was an odd. If the prompt was there, hey, make your family story in the set, then it goes to the fact is, who is the set selling, the build or the family and the story and the personalities that are going into the set? And in my opinion, maybe where some shenanigans were happening, I don't know. But anyway, because if the prompt was, which we don't know, put your family and your story into the set that we're going to design as a set, then you look at the family story a little bit, you look at the reach of the people and all that kind of stuff. And I know who has a lot of subscribers on YouTube. So I don't I'll just go ahead and throw that shenanigan out right now. So
I
Wow,
don't agree with that shenanigan. I don't.
I
Think
got it. No,
so.
I get it. That was conspiracy theory weirdo tinfoil hat, except he's the one wearing the hat.
That's true.
But
It does
I
look great tinfoil.
I just pulled that out there to go. So anyway, all right. So do you any other thoughts about the builds or the judge or the challenge before we get into the builds and everything?
I'll just say I did say it before we went in chat, and I am going to say it publicly. The last episode was Lego Masters. None of the builds appealed to me in any way that, and I hate saying it because, I know they're all probably going to be great builders. Like if that constraint, and I never put the family thing together that all three of them did family related stuff, but it wasn't what I expected to see from a finale at all.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I can also.
Wow, he's doing his Guinness Book of World Records of Frozen again.
There he is. You're back. You're back.
Let it go, Chris. Let it go.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my internet. So, am I back?
You're back.
Yeah, you're back. You're back. You're good.
Okay. All right. It jumped a little while ago, so if it messes up for me, we'll just go. All right. So let's look at the builds as we go. Hopefully, this will work for me. Here we go. All right. So we'll start with the first build, the Family Tree of Seasons. This is by Nina and Sam. But do you guys think that the idea of changing the colors was a pivot they had to do?
Yeah.
Because of feedback, or did they just like, oh, that's a good idea?
I think that Sam and Nina are such fast builders that they're often developing the story and some of the concepts as they're going. So they have the core element here is they're trying to make a big tree. That was probably what they started with. And then as they're getting this big tree built, they're 6-10 hours in. They're like, hey, what is going on with this tree? Make sure there's some color and story. And then Sam seemed very flustered on the edit. Nina's giving him advice like, hey, why don't we do 4 seasons? Because it's a tree. You could have it separated. Yeah. Some of the branches make, they just kind of, they just molded their idea to make more sense for the judges, I think. So I think that's probably the progression here. But it could have been a variety of things. You never know how the edit presents these things.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of wonder, and again, we're armchair quarterbacking this, that because they probably spent a good chunk of time, and I don't know how much time it took to actually construct the trunk, but it seemed like it was probably a pretty intensive amount of time to construct the trunk. And then it only left them so much time to develop their tree platforms. And then they were probably running out of time, and those other trees at the top was as far as they got. Because regardless of what the colors they used, it would have been nicer to see it fuller. And so one of two things would have had to happen. Either make the tree thinner so it wasn't as thick, maybe not as brick intensive, or scale it down slightly so it wasn't so big so you had more time to add more details. So that would have been the one thing that I might have questioned what their motivation was, and they were, and both Sam, and we've had him on here, he's classic for going, trying to take off or bite a little more than he probably can chew. So that's par for the course. So it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think you're dead on right there, Dana. I will say this thing is, the pictures probably do not do this thing justice, just how huge it is.
Right.
I think they definitely spent both these the top 2 teams today, or this episode, are really, really competitive. Like they're really, there's great sportsmanship, but they really push each other to do better. You can see it all through the season. So I think what's interesting, if size was a prompt, they nailed it.
Yes.
But it's not a guaranteed winning strat. Like
right.
This thing is so much bigger than our tree, but it's not as detailed. I'm sorry, there's not as much fine tuning. You can't really relax in a build this size.
And what's interesting though, while and it's almost like it's a polarization of itself, because if you look at each one of the scenes, they're fantastic.
Oh yeah,
There's great little stories in each one of the scenes. but it's the overall build that brings them all together is where I'm lacking. You know, I get the family tree aspect, but the tree itself is just a big log with a couple branches out of it. So I would have loved to have seen them find a better way to incorporate those scenes into the tree and a little more detail orientated, or more so than just a giant trunk. So
I hate to say it.
It's conflicting.
Yeah, the details were lost. I think though they would have popped more had all the leaves been the same color, because my eye is jumping from all the different colors, and then I'm starting to lose all the other colors in the thing. Had you made them all the same color, then that would have been more part of the tree that you don't even have to think about.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. If they had done what Amy actually requested at the end, granted it was during the judging, where she suggested she wanted to see more of those colors and more branches or more leaves around each one of the seasons, your eye wouldn't be having that problem anymore, because then there would be a clear, decisive section for each season.
No, I agree with that. With what it is, it's distracting. Had there been more of each color in each leaf in each area, that would have been a framework for everything.
Correct.
And you would have saw it.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree. But with what it is, in my opinion, it may be distracting, because there's a lot of things small and different instead of big things being one thing and small things being small things.
And that's the disjointed portion of it. And that's the disjointed portion.
And that's down to time too, because you've also got very different leaf textures going on. You have the big kind of triangle shaped leaves. You have the little leaves, the Lego leaves nearby, and then you have the big skull dishes.
Yeah.
And so you have 3 different types of leaves going on, 4 different colors. And because you got those different patterns trying to weave together, I think you're getting a lot of distraction. So that's just time. They ran out of time. They're using Lego leaves because they didn't have time to sculpt more big leaf sections to add to it. So.
Yep.
I do remember one thing they added in the prompt. They needed it to be 360. So they said, you want to see a big 360 model, this and that and this and that. Me and Mark, we didn't make a perfectly 360 model. We had 3 sides, maybe a little bit of detail in the back, but it wasn't nearly as finished as the rest. I wonder what would happen if the back got to be ignored. Let's say they made
it would have given them more
2/3 of a tree, and then they had it pointed to the front.
It would have given them more time,
which we don't see.
More time. It would have given them more time for sure.
Yeah, because he made that, it flattened out that trunk, and it's almost as big as the rug they built, plus all the characters and other things like that. So it's an insane model, and I love the katana, by the way, Nina with the katana. That's funny.
I love each one of the scenes is fantastic.
I know, they're wonderful.
Yeah. They're all fantastic scenes.
Good choice with mini land scale, by the way. It's very recognizable.
Yeah.
Very iconic. I like that.
No Uncanny Valley.
Do you think maybe there was an instruction that you can't make giant characters? I mean, it seems like everybody's person build was limited. I mean,
no, I would be very surprised if they said don't make a large character. I'd be very surprised if they said that. They usually say do whatever you like to do. So
here's the thing.
I think Alita said something about the scale on the figure, so that they weren't having to make more detail or less detail. There was some debate in one on their team about how big to make their figures. So
that was Jamie recommending that they get the scale of their characters with the scale of their model, which they did.
Yeah, okay. That way yes. Okay.
Yeah. They pull it off too. They pull it off very nicely. So.
Right. Well, it's also interesting that they said it has to be a 3-dimensional model. Did they spin around the models? No, not really. I mean,
not really.
Well, yes and no. I mean, they actually, when we get to Paul and Lita's, they do go around, because you have to see it from all 4 sides. So they do go flipping around that one.
Also, it does seem, I wonder if they got a prompt that there had to be some sort of motion on it. Everybody had a little bit of motion, but not a ton.
That's true.
Did we have a prompt like that, Mark? I don't remember.
Motion definitely wasn't required, but it would be unwise to not include it.
That's right, because Zach and Wayne, they weren't able to get motion, but they didn't say anything about it. I remember that.
Wasn't there also a lighting requirement for you guys?
Ours was extreme with the lighting. If you didn't put lighting in your build, you were
in trouble. Yeah, they said you got to have lights. We want to see a day and night theme.
We also had third-party lighting access, but Yeah.
Third party. Anyway, so the final scene. Go ahead.
One last. This is overall too, so you can move on to the next pictures if you want. But the Dana and you guys were asking about like maybe they said you weren't allowed to build a large character. I don't think it's that. I think it's actually it goes down to their skill in their specific complexities, because a large sculpted tree guy is a lot of individual pieces sculpting. That's more like making a sphere or making a
fluid
natural object. This is an octagon.
Yeah.
It's a big, strong octagon with some pretty good sculpting kind of attached to it with the roots and stuff. And then like you have the plane is just kind of, you're designing the fuselage, going off that. You got the wings, that's a measurable angle. So I think that they're trying to lean into their strengths, and I don't think that none of them really wanted to go for like a teddy bear or that kind of shape for their build. So,
Yeah.
The more rounded, the longer it takes. So yeah.
True.
Usually.
All right. Any other thoughts about Sam and Nina's build? It was very impressive at the size, because once they showed him standing beside it, it's like, oh wow, that thing's huge.
He barely put his arms around it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
No,
This
it's
is the tallest build on Lego Masters, I think. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The next one. By the way, in the main scene, being 6 foot off the ground so you can't see it, maybe that was a problem. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a crane for that though. They were prepared for tall stuff.
Jamie couldn't see it though, you know.
That's
Jamie
Jamie was
is
looking
pretty
at the bottom
short.
branch.
Amy
Yeah,
probably,
Jamie
thought,
could
Amy
see.
probably didn't.
Now Amy could see it, but not Jamie.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Paul and Nelita, the Christmas Eve on a cliff. Good segue to the holiday special. Your thoughts on their build?
So, from an architectural perspective, it's a neat building. It's a neat house. It's got a very Frank Lloyd Wright kind of feeling, off, somewhere in the wooded area. You expect like Ferris Bueller's Day Off to be a segue to this type of house scenario. The brick built figures, I've got pluses and minuses on them.
I do too. By the way, I'm glad you got a different. That looks like this person is slapping the other person in the butt right there.
Oh, it's the angle. They're
There's
further
some
back.
separation there, so there you go. I'm glad.
I wonder if they ran out of time on this too, because there's a single solitary tree outside, which seems a little on the lacking. It definitely has a Christmassy vibe. We've got a tree and we've got presents and we've got people and snowball fight, but it seems like time management might have been an issue for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the shape of every face is identical, which is kind of
Yeah.
I get that you build it that way to save time, but it just looks a little creepy.
Yeah, it does. It does. No disrespect.
I remember
intended.
actually the same thing happened on Lego Masters Australia. One of the season 1, I think it was Kale and whatever the other guy.
Oh, Kale, I can't stand that guy.
Anyway, he made 2 Titanic characters, and they had the same face. For it was supposed to be Jack and Rose, I think that's their names, and they had the same face. And Brickman let him have it. He's like, "Yep, nope. You can't make them the same. That's not okay." So, and I think I'm with Brickman on this one. The same faces are not for me.
Yeah.
I have to say though, which is unfortunate, I feel kind of bad because my least favorite sort of architecture is modernist architecture. This sort of thing we've got going on, these unusual angles, all this other fun stuff, which I'm sure some people absolutely love. But I like me castle architecture. I like me Gothic architecture. I like the old detailed stuff. So for me, I wish I could like this sort of style better, but it's just not my thing. I feel kind of bad.
I like this architectural style. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, I like the house painting over the hill. I think that was kind of a cool idea.
Yeah,
it brought it more into focus, I'd say. But
it's a neat angle. Like the layout's pretty interesting too. Yeah, I like that.
Truthfully, if they had added more of a wintry feel and scenery outside, I think was the real detraction. Even the weirdness of the figures' faces isn't as detracting from this build as we've only got one tree outside.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's a nice tree too.
It's a nice
Shame we don't
tree.
see more.
I want 20 of them.
Mhm.
You know.
So yeah, the landscape, I think they really would have benefited from using the last layer as white versus gray.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
give us
yeah.
more of a snow feel.
They also probably were short on time because they buried an entire functioning roller coaster beneath a huge gray mountain that was fairly solid. It's kind of like Steven and Steven all over again. You're putting all your energy into a big gray mountain. It doesn't matter how good it looks, you're spending too much time on it. So.
Correct.
Mm.
Yeah, and that sled and the characters on the sled were not to scale with the others or something. It was just disjointed, I think. So
Yes. And again, I err on the fact that they may have bitten off more than they can chew and didn't plan their time management. Is probably my bet on that one too.
yeah. Well, and I'm going to say the one that they won with the bag, which I disagreed with.
We're losing you again, Chris.
We lost him.
Last thing we heard was the one they won with the bag.
Now, didn't Christopher and Robert win the bag, but they got second? Is that right? Or
Yes, they got
Robert
second.
won.
The one they won was with the telescope.
I'm back. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
I'm
Chris.
sorry. But so they rated really high with the bag, which I didn't agree with because of the coloring and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was basically these three colors, and so here it is again. And so there's not a lot of color.
And if you think about actually all of their builds through the whole season, they were very not monochrome, but very limited palette for most of their builds.
The telescope, that wasn't their decision. They had to copy an item, but yeah.
Correct. But
Aside from that, yeah.
But if you look at the bag, if you looked at even the cat house, if you looked at the vehicle that they did, everything was very big blocky color, big blocky color, big blocky color. There wasn't a lot of pizzazz and color variation. It was very, very modernistic architectural coloring. That's probably the way I could put it. This is actually consistent with their builds throughout the season from that perspective.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of
this is where experience and muscle memory comes in. And if you're not super experienced, all of a sudden you lose some ability to push yourself and everything. So kudos to them. But I mean, this is a massive build.
Another big one.
It's very, very big, and I think that was the go big or go home kind of prompt was going on there. And so, but the being that big, hurt them as well.
It's funny though, because everybody was going home regardless at the go big go home comments.
That's
They
fair.
go
Yeah,
home
everyone's
winner
going home
or
right
not.
now.
My response to
point.
go big and go home is like, you don't understand how bad I want to go home. So,
go big and
all right, here we
home.
go. Last build, Christopher and Robert,
Boom.
World Wonderliner.
So they waited until the end of this episode to say, "Oh, by the way, your model will be displayed in the Lego New York flagship store or whatever."
Yeah.
I don't think I've played any consideration into the size of the models because this thing's going to take up so much freaking floor space.
It's not the same size. It's a little version
No,
they're gonna
it's
make.
gonna get-
obviously.
No. They're saying this model will be in the Legoland flagship store in New York City.
No, we're not talking
Right,
about
right,
we're not
right.
talking about the set that they will get to design. It's going into Legoland New York.
Yeah,
That's right. I
Not
forgot.
Legoland
Oh, my
Manager,
bad.
no,
My
not
bad.
Legoland.
Sorry.
The flagship.
You got to think that
store
store
in New York.
manager went, oh crap.
I mean, it is a huge store. I forgot what the store name is, but it is a huge store.
Yeah.
And they probably can't have the floor space, but 8 by 8 feet, like what they said it was roughly. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a monster.
It's been a couple summers.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about this build and the positives and negatives.
It's massive.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
got a lot of really interesting and fun details on it. I was trying to figure out that design at first. That's Asia, Europe, and Africa, and the other side is probably North America and South America on the wing tops. So that's a pretty fun one. But what's interesting, we did our Talk Bricks episode a few days ago, and Michael uploaded it pretty quickly. And then Michael promptly messaged us and said, I got a message from Dave Kalita from our season saying, I'm already an hour in and no one has mentioned that there are no engines under the wings.
It is.
Wow.
Are
one
you
that
going to
we
mention that there are no engines under the wings? Michael had to tell him we didn't because we didn't notice. So
Wow.
a lot of great
We
details.
noticed.
But Christopher and Robert, you forgot the engines.
Well, it's dream powered.
Oh, good point.
I mean, they do have Z's on the back, and they do have little beds that are flying through the whole thing for their power function. This is again one of those things where I guess the airplane itself is massive, and in itself, it's amazing that they were able to slap this whole thing together in the amount of time that they were able to do, and then they had the time to try and figure out 3 small little stories to also add within the build as well. It is amazing that they were able to finish this. I mean, finished. I know there are definitely some just slap some paint on it, nobody will notice, kind of thing. But
yeah, that's the one issue is the front.
It's a lot of, but again, they set out to do something crazy big, and they succeeded. But yeah, there are little gaps here and there, and what you can do.
Also, just noticing you were talking about the lack of engines. There's no tail fins. There's no vertical wings on the plate either. But beside that, the wing flop was really bugging me. Even when they were they said, "Oh, okay, I think it's good now," and the wings were still Boeing. And I get it, not Boeing as in 747, but I get it that you couldn't have fixed that.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna call some editing shenanigans because they had the wings and then they said, "Oh, we're gonna go back and fix them." There was no added thickness to that wing. They were just showing when they were building the wings initially. To me, that was an edit shenanigan because that's how thick the wing was. If it wasn't that thick, it wouldn't have even gone anywhere. So they may have reinforced it somehow, but there was no super rebuild of that.
But at the same time, I got to ask the question, how many of you would have thought to let's build a 5 foot? I mean, is it only 4 feet wings?
No, those are 8.
So it's 4 feet on each side?
At least.
Probably. At least?
Well, it's on an angle too, so maybe not. It could be even longer, right?
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty free. I mean, that looks longer than 4 feet. I mean,
they said 8 foot wingspan total. So
okay, so I mean, that was just crazy. I mean, I don't care if it's going in Legoland or Lego store or not. Saying I want to build an 8 foot wingspan for something I'm building is like, why? You could have chopped off 2 feet on each end, and it still would have been big and impressive, and given you more time to flesh out more details. So I'm
telling you, these teams were crazy ambitious. They were so downright competitive.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy how competitive they were.
Yeah, I definitely would have dialed back the wingspan just a little bit, just to give myself more time to play with the things that were going to make more details better. So
like the 3 models in the middle, like that Coliseum, while it's it gets the idea of it across, it's not that, I don't know, it looks like a quick something you slap together at the end of the show type thing.
Well, I mean, again, literally, they probably spent more time on the airplane itself than they did collectively on the 3 small stories inside.
Yeah.
And that's just because of sheer timing. I mean, there's no way they could have gotten everything else and then said, "Oh yeah, now let's build the airplane." No, they kind of had to do the airplane first and then the details later. But yeah, maybe if they tossed or scaled back that Trian, if they had scaled back that plane just a little bit, they would have given them more time to be a little meticulous on the details.
I think that's the case with every build this finale. If you just held back a little bit, you would have better details. However, I think this model really works in a lot of ways, and it's all down to their concept. And I think they did accomplish. The question would be then, did they accomplish their concept? Did it work? I think it does. But for their idea, they have their family in these cool environments, but these are all locations that most people would have either romanticized visiting or have already visited. So people go out in nature, that cool tree. It looks like a tree. It's decent. It's a little choppy on the trunk, but it's still a pretty cool, complete tree. You know, we all love nature.
Right.
We all like Roman architecture, like the Colosseum. Mark, you've been to the Colosseum. You know, you would remember your wonderful trip then. And then there's, I believe it's the Forbidden Palace in China. You know, a lot of people have visited that. So it's celebrating travel and like, look, we traveled, and lots of people do this thing too. So they're doing a thing that a lot of people have also done. In an airplane, we've all flown in an airplane. We all probably remember our first time in a plane and how cool that was or whatever. And we've seen them up in the sky, wondering where they go. So it's like there's a lot of, I'm getting all whimsy because, you know, you can put yourself into this environment and be excited to do so, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very inviting to your imagination. So I think that they really nailed the concept. The tree is very pretty to look at, but I don't see myself in those branches as easily. The house is it's a cool house. It's a cool environment too, but it's clearly someone else's family reunion. And that I don't identify. Well, some people don't even much like their family reunions. You know, that's another thing. Like, would you enjoy that environment? So, but this, who doesn't like travel, right?
Correct. But you know what my big problem is, and it goes for all three builds, is that none of them wow me the way I want to be wowed. And, that's just me. And I wonder if because of the requirements that we may or may not know about, because if I were Amy and Jamie, it would literally have to be there was knowledge that they had or requirements that they had that gave them the decision to choose which one they chose. Because otherwise, it would have been hard for me in the grand scheme of things to choose which one was over the other because they each had, varying things,
This is true. If you would have built a large place logo, you would have won.
Well, that's a given. That's
Imagine if you turn the wings so it's like an arrowhead and you gave it the space logo. I mean, you guys would have lost your mind.
Behind the back of the plane, totally, yeah. But that again would have been pandering to the judges, and maybe that's what they were doing, and all three teams were pandering to the judges. Steve has to drive by car or rail anywhere he travels. But yeah, I mean. I think they were all doing something like, and Stephen, you mentioned that they were all listening to Amy and Jamie very intently about what they were looking for. So I'm guessing that there was requirements that we didn't hear about, and that's what everybody was doing, and that's how Amy and Jamie chose who was the winner. Because otherwise, it would have been difficult.
Now, for the model designer that has to take this model and make it into something that they can put in a store, how can I say it? Like, what do you think that model designer is thinking after when they first see these images? Like
dots.
Like, don't we already have a bunch of city planes? Can we just take one of those and take out their passenger area?
Actually, what I think? It's been a long time since they've done an airplane. It's actually been a decent amount of time. It's mostly helicopters.
Actually, they just did a city airplane.
Last year.
Last season. This last release before.
There was a airplane last year. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, my bad.
Well, the designer thinks, we have that piece right there. All right. And we're good.
We have all those pieces. Yeah.
We have that wing piece that is one piece. We're good. So
no engines needed. No tail fins needed.
You know what
I guys think Jamie is going to design this one? Do you guys think he'll be doing this?
That's important for a lot of stuff,
Okay, there we go. Here's that you brought up judging shenanigan 2. Lego designers who work at Lego judge this. They're looking at it and saying which is going to be the easiest to make a set out of. And guess which one is easiest to make a set out of Lego? Because I'm looking at this takes 3 pieces so far: a tail fin, a big wing, and a nose cone. 4 pieces right there.
And you don't need to have engines.
And you don't have to put engines on it or back wings.
No engine. Oh my word!
I disagree with it. I think that the designer aspect of it is going to be the choice for who wins, because they've been making trees like crazy lately, especially within Friends and ideas and dreams. We can do trees, so trees would be an easy thing to do. Their corner stop is building houses, so there wouldn't be no big deal to be building a house. So I don't think that being a plane was a criteria or shenanigans of let's let this thing win because it's easy to make a plane. they could do the housing of the trees just as easy. So no, I disagree.
I think I think I have to go with Dana a little bit on that one too, because I think the designers, when they came up with it, I know a lot of the Lego Masters who have retired Lego Masters were saying, we want sets of the product. We keep getting asked this. I'll bet that they said, okay, if we're going to do this, we got to be prepared to build whatever these guys build. Like, okay, if we're going to do the one-time thing, we're going to put 3 stickers. Probably. I think they would have been of the mindset going into this new season. All right, it's probably going to be something we wouldn't design. It's probably going to be something very out there, and we don't know what to expect. So let's just roll with whatever they come with.
Yeah.
And I think the set's going to be pretty cool. I think it's going to be a neat design. I'm excited to get it personally.
So my first crack on the thought process is if they're going to do a plane, and that we're going to have the back, as opposed to them just being up, the back will open. And there will be some mechanism that pops up mini builds of the 3 things.
That would be neat.
That would be cool. That would be cool. We get a cool stylized plane that the hangar bay or the midsection opens up, and then we pop up these little mini builds. That's
Dropping little bombs of little builds.
No bombs.
Little trees going at the top.
Yeah, no. Anyway, yeah. Right.
Hey, look, I'm gonna say the one build of all seasons of Lego Masters that I wanted as a set was you guys' set, but they did. Here it is.
Beautiful, Chris. Beautiful.
He's even lifting up the correct arm. That's wonderful.
That's great.
Appreciate it, Bazoom. We should make that into a set here at Atlanta Brick Co.
Yeah, you should. You should. Now, I will say this. Let's think about the winners. And would I have liked Tyler and Amy's Eagle thing as a set? I'm kind of thinking, yeah, I would. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
Season 2, you guys, your Gollum, obviously, would be amazing as a set. I would take it. It would be amazing what could be built. Season 3, Nick's cabinet with doodads on it and stuff. I'm kind of in on that. I don't know if I mean, hey, on season 1, the 3rd place Peacock has been made into a set this year. It's coming out, right?
I noticed that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Hey, by the way, Mark, didn't you and I make a set together? You know, we did that once, right? Yeah, there you go. So,
and Chris, you probably saw it in private chat. I threw up the last Australian season 3 top models for the last.
That's
episode.
Grandmasters. That's a whole nother echelon.
Yeah, not Grandmasters. No, the season before. So 2022 season. Just kind of as a comparison. I don't know if you want to throw that up, but Moto has suggested it, so I found a link.
Cruel. That's cruel.
if Moto said it, sure. Yeah.
Well, obviously.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
My system's loading.
Wow.
Oh, giant tree. Okay.
Oh, the big
Giant tree.
Krabulon, Godzilla, Joss and Henry. Go down a little bit. Go down a little bit.
Well, you will.
My internet.
That's right. You got hamsters and a shoestring. I know.
He's on dial-up.
Yeah,
I am apparently. I don't know.
Plug those potatoes back in, Chris.
Wow.
Here, you want to look at my lovely version of your build a little more? No, all right.
These are actually really cool. They did a
yeah.
good job.
Although I will say though that's just one big one colored tree, but anyway,
no, but
all
this
there-
one
wow.
right here,
Yeah.
this one right
Dang.
here,
Yeah,
This
I would
speaks to
buy
me.
that.
this speaks to me.
That's cool.
I
Now, I
want,
have to
I
point
want
out-
that one in 3 different builds. I want there to be both monsters and then the bridge as a separate set, so I can bring them all 3 together.
I'll have to say this though. I believe it's around 30 something hours.
Yeah, I
For
think
the
it's
Australia ones.
Australia.
I'm sure
Yeah,
Oh,
they get
geez,
way
yeah.
more time.
we beat the dead horse about how much we would prefer the Australian show here. So
Mm-hmm. These
Yeah.
are massive.
yeah,
Yeah, they are.
Holy cow, these are big. They take up the whole table.
Yeah.
Man, interesting. Interesting.
it looks more like 3 tables.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, the Krabulon thing there. What do you think of that there for Zoom? Fleet Mark. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that is very cool.
Mm.
And it's orange. And it's orange.
That's cool.
I don't know who's first, second, and third in this, but they're really cool.
Scroll down, you see who wins the trophy. It's the Robo ones. Yeah, these guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's because the third team made another mountain.
Oh, and that was another thing. They didn't actually,
Mountains are a bad idea. You gotta
Yeah,
be like,
never
"Ooh,
go with
I
a
don't know
mountain."
about mountains. Those
They
are
didn't
They
hard.
made a water mountain. Look at that.
Yeah, but it's
They made-
colorful.
It is?
That's the difference.
It's
In-
water.
in the U.S. version, they didn't have a crowd of kids come in and vote on things like
Yeah.
they've done in the past.
Mm.
Right? They didn't have like that. It was basically all up to the judges completely, and maybe that was because of the set logic of it. Like they wanted to choose it because they knew it needed to be a set in the future. But I don't know.
I think we said this. I'm not. I mean, I feel like this was a producer or production company decision of why things are the way they are, and that's why we're not going to be happy about this. I'm sure that most of the rest of the American population is like, cool, we get an airplane with these cool things out of it. All right, cool.
I like it.
You know, I mean,
I just hope that they don't. If they build this set in a few years, well, hopefully they continue that for at least the next season as well. Because, like, if their decision on whether or not to continue doing it was just based on this season and the final model, and like this is the set we produced, and maybe the sales don't be as or aren't as great as they hope, or maybe they're better than they hope. I don't know, but like compared to the other builds we've had in the past, I worry that that might just be a season 4 thing, and that's it. Like we're no longer creating a set based on.
Well, as long as we buy it, they might go back and give us a Warden set. Just saying, I'm buying this airplane, y'all.
Yeah, but the other thing is also they're building a set for the world as well, though, right? Because Lego is supposed to sell in all markets these sets. So how is that going to work too? Like now all the other scenes are like Australia is probably like, well, where's our set, right? Like,
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know.
Good point. That's a good
or it
point.
may only be available at Legolands in the U.S. or something. Who knows? Or flagship stores,
or gift with purchase for the U.S. market or something.
Yeah, I mean, they
Yeah.
could do all sorts of strange things.
Yeah.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, though, Christopher nailed it. Though this is a quintessential full experience to have an official set.
Yeah,
I know we have Mark and Chris, and you know we take for granted that they've had a set made, but for the average AFOL, this is otherworldly stuff going on.
Without having to go through all the Lego ideas madness.
Yes.
Yeah, that's insane.
They just get to sit down with a designer and hash it out and go from there. So.
And sorry, just adding to this now, I'm thinking about it. You mentioned it could be a gift of purchase. They never did say how big the set was going to be. So that's a good point. It could literally be a gift of purchase or a couple of minifigs of the winners and then a little micro scale model of what they built, right? Like
I know that Christopher and Robert, they did promise to give them a hand in it. And I know if they didn't, Christopher would make that pretty vocal. He would probably be upset if he didn't get a good say in it. So I'll bet he wouldn't let it be a mini, tiny little build. I don't think Christopher would allow that. If
but would Lego care?
Sort of say in it. So.
Lego is the one that's making that decision, and like what Christopher and
That's
Robert
the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. If they're true to their word and give him something to chew on, then it'll probably not be a small.
But you know what though?
We'll see.
If it was me and they came back and said, hey, we're just going to put your name on this box and this little figure is supposed to represent you and your partner and what you built, I'd be like, okay. Sure. Yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, like you said, I don't have to go through Lego ideas and get 10,000 votes and have it go through a review panel. I'm getting an official set made, regardless of whether it's a gift with purchase or if you're only going to make it available in certain stores or certain countries. I don't care. I now have street cred that no one can ever take away from me because I now have an official Lego set that was made from something I designed.
But Lego Ideas also does come with a small commission on all the sets sold too.
I don't even care. I guarantee you that most people who do Lego Ideas sets, they could care less about the commission they get from whatever the sales are. It's because they have bragging rights to say, I made a set that Lego designed or that put together.
Yeah. Our agreement was we got a couple of boxes of bricks and 6 copies, 3 of each set.
Yeah,
and they lost our phone number. That's what we got when we did the set. So just say
exactly. And I am proud to say that I have a copy of both of those from Mark's. So yes, that is fantastic stuff. But again,
what I want to know is why didn't they do the set thing from the very start? Like, why not?
That should have been a no-brainer. You're absolutely right. You're
But
absolutely
yeah,
Like,
because
waiting
that would have
for-
helped you in your idea of what you want to build at the end. You would have pivoted to say, "Oh, well, this also needs to be playable, or it needs to be a thing." And the thing,
And you know what? I think they should take out the fact that it should be something representing your final build. I think it should be whoever wins that season gets to work with the Lego designer to have a set designed by them and
Yeah, that's
Lego.
what I do.
That would have
That
been
would-
so much
yeah.
better than saying, "Oh, we're going to make a Lego set off of your build."
Mhm.
What
Yeah,
would you guys? And that is an interesting question. From whatever season, what would you guys like to see as a set most preferred from whatever season, or a couple from each season? Because I would like. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. I wouldn't mind buying 2 dragons from Zach and Wayne. Like that thing was insane.
The
I don't know,
Dragon
what do
Ball
you
was
guys
cool.
think? What do you
Yeah.
guys think?
Yeah.
What would you pick?
You guys already redid it, but your sea monster from the parade
Mhm.
float, that was a win for me. I really loved the Marvel build for the Rainbow Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Yeah,
a great.
yeah.
I mean, I know they had the golden brick and they got to play it on that one, but that was a fun and cool thing to have seen. And if they were to do that, it would have been cool. Would have been cool.
I-
set.
the,
Mhm.
I
the
don't
carrot
remember-
monster, Tyler's carrot monster. So cool.
Yes.
I don't know what season or what version of Lego Masters it was, but there was the fawn, the deer in the forest.
Oh, that would be from Australia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was one that I saw that I was like, oh, I love that. I love the look of that. Yeah.
Yep.
He got his
We gotta
hand.
make a new environment for him to go in. It's so cool.
Y'all need to turn him into the. Remember the
Whoa.
puppet? Y'all need to make a monster puppet out of the dragon to make the dragon.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me, Chris.
Oh,
but I
you
would
said
also like
puppets.
to
You got
see-
Steven on the hook now.
Do you remember Boone's? They did the cinema theme, the cinema challenge, where you had to take a theme and then they would twist it with another theme, like romance and comedy or horror.
Oh yes,
They had their shark monster movie romance where the shark came out and destroyed the city because the other shark was captured. Like that was just genius. Like on the fly planning, like the best example. I would want to see that. Like that's one of my favorite builds from the whole season. It
Yeah,
was
that was-
hilarious.
Yeah,
Mm.
actually, most of the builds from season, like the last half of season 1, were fantastic
Oh, yeah.
across the whole thing.
Oh yeah, there were some really good ones in there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
crazy stuff.
So
Yeah.
we can recap the season. A couple things about this season that I think were different. There were no twists.
Thankfully.
And I liked the small build or the side build twist and stuff like that. That was actually kind of fun for me because all of a sudden you had to ramp up some build skill for that. But they didn't have time for that because I think production schedule was so short. And for me, the golden brick was kind of a non-issue, except for one thing with Nina and Sam with the carpet, right? And they wouldn't have done that if they hadn't had that brick. So they got a thing. But then all of a sudden it disappeared and move on. So those were some odd things. What else? Did y'all like that aspect or not like that aspect?
I thought it was cool to. Oh, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
So I think the golden brick was actually used this season, which is great because you either haven't seen it or it was like they hold on to it. Like I think me and Steven set a bad precedent of not using it for a lot of episodes, but they literally stayed on the show and could go for such giant swings because they had that golden brick in their pocket for.
And they were going to use it.
So good for them for using it and going all out. So I like that. So.
Yeah.
It was fun to see a little bit of irregularity with the brick for once because it usually kind of just goes and never shows up again. So it's kind of neat to see people. I think they broke the ice of actually using the golden brick. I think finally maybe teams will be a little bit more braver now. A lot of these teams are really like ironclad. Like we're just gonna do some crazy thing and whatever happens, which is kind of refreshing to see, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
when we had Sam on, that was one of his comments. He was like, "Why not? We had the brick."
yeah, I wouldn't have said that. So it's good.
No,
to see
no,
it.
and that's and I know because I would have been looking at it the same perspective that the two of you looked at. It's like we're holding on to this until we do something stupid and we don't want to do anything stupid. Where he's like, I've got it. Let's do something stupid. And
That's really cool to see that.
Correct.
You know?
And I hope that gets done again. I hope someone takes that philosophy and goes, hey, we've got the golden brick. Let's just go crazy.
Let's make something that no one would ever expect. Let's grab the rug and move that out.
Yeah,
you know?
let's do something.
Pull the rug out from under them.
Yeah. Let's do something we're not comfortable with. Let's swing for the fences. And if we don't do it, then yeah, we got the brick. Use it. So
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just just kind of a side note. I remember back when we were talking season 2 with Eric and Steven, or Mark and Steven here. Sorry, Eric and Steven. I was reading your last name.
All the same.
That you guys said you went into the last episode and you knew exactly what you were going to build, or you had a very good idea. Do you think the 3 teams that went into this final episode knew what they were going to build ahead of time?
Probably. You usually have, as far as I'm familiar with, you have a day to basically plan. You have the Sunday and then you film Monday.
But
so,
I don't know. Based on what they came up with, to me, I don't want to be mean and say that they seem like weaker ideas, but
we had a couple others before we landed on the tree guy. If I remember correctly, we were thinking about doing a city, which would, in hindsight, be terrible because cities don't do well. We were going to do a white city with the kind of like Wizard of Oz, Emerald City with moving elements, and we both like, that sounds complicated. Yeah. And I'm glad we moved away. We thought about doing a dragon, but there had been so many dragons that it was stuck in our head. Dragon. There's so many dragons. We're like, it's probably not a good idea either. I think Mark, wasn't there a third one? I forgot.
Probably, but I think that Chris and Robert probably had a pretty clear idea going in because it's a combination of 2 different things. You got I almost said tree. You got a giant plane, and then you got the dreaming aspect to it as well. Yeah. And I think that Chris and Robert were probably thinking about the Lego Dreams theme, and they were going in this just a little bit, maybe taking inspiration from it. I think that Paul really wanted to show off architecture.
Yeah.
And so I think they probably were going in with that and then kind of added a Christmas flair to it too. Then Sam and Nina, I think, could have been just, hey, let's make a tree. Because that it has happened before in more than one version of Lego Masters. So,
yeah. I should mention a funny story, by the way. I had a mild spoiler that Christopher and Sam, before I really knew what was going on, they had actually visited the Lego store before. I don't think this is gonna hurt anything. I really don't think it's gonna hurt anything. This was months and months and months ago. This was like in the spring of last year. It was crazy. But they showed up, and I think one of them mentioned something about a tree existing, and that they hinted at that. And I reassured them, look, I don't own a copyright on trees. Build whatever you want. So I don't remember how it even came up. I honestly don't. But
in the vaguest terms, of course. But yes.
I like the idea, though. I like the idea of essentially combining the Story of Our Lives tower from Zach and Wayne and the Warden. Like this is an interesting way of telling a story, but for the reasons I mentioned earlier, I don't think it was enough to get them across the finish line. But I think they probably planned that out. I think they probably planned out. Now I don't know how sure they were of their own idea, but maybe it was kind of last minute. Maybe some of these were a little bit more last minute. I'm not sure. But I think you're right, bro. I think at least Christopher and Robert had an idea.
I think if I were to go into this, like if I were to be in Lego Masters, one of the first things I would consider, like with my partner, is like, okay, what's our last build, and start planning that out a lot earlier than a few days before, And that's where I'm just.
Well, I mean, the theory being is that during the interview process, one of the questions is, what is something you and your partner would build on a big scale? That has been on the questionnaire for audition or for submitting for an application since season 1.
Yeah.
So no matter what you think that you want to do, when they turn around and they give you some small criteria, it's going to
that throws a loop in it too.
It's going to cause you to pivot no matter what.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you take Chris and I as an example, if we were on and we were wanting to build a giant space battle or moon base, and they said, well, now you have to incorporate yourselves into it and your families. Well, that would have been a completely change of perspective on things.
Everybody's got little baby spaceships following along. What do you want?
And again,
It's a
that comes back
family
to Marcus,
armada.
I think, Mark's statement of earlier that it depends on how literal you go with what the requirements are, and how much you take into that and feed off of that. So yeah, we could have a small pod that had our families in it, and then there's a big space battle going on. So
or it's the duel versus the Giddens, the space battle of
The
of
Zool.
all time.
yeah, exactly. So I
Or
mean,
my wife would have been sitting there in the corner going, "I don't like this." Anyway,
and there
Yours would be like, yeah.
and there would have been some spaceship. There would have been some spaceship, and with my wife piloting it, and the back is full of cats and raccoons. So I mean, it depends on how you want to craft it. But again, if you've got to, if they give you a requirement at the end, it's going to change what you think you're going to do, no matter what.
hey, by the way, I figured out what to do to fix my internet problems. Have my 18-year-old son stop his internet and come to the basement. Fixed it. So we're good.
There you go. There you go. There is a thing on your router that you can do for quality of service. So yeah, I'll teach you how to do that.
No, well, it needs to be rebooted. So,
Mhm.
all right. If you are not watching the Lego Masters Holiday Special, it is now 6 minutes into it. So they're just introducing the celebrities. It's been in the commercial. You're not missing anything. So anyway,
Yeah.
any final thoughts? I'm a little upset with Caleb. Did he come see y'all during the filming?
Yeah.
Video.
Yeah.
You
No,
can
no,
say
no,
it.
we-
All right, you
we
broke
did
up for a
lunch.
second, Chris. Anyway, move on.
Well, I got no call, and that no one called Lego Master Uber here to take them anywhere. So
You
it's
may
all
have
right.
driven to the north side for something during that time. I don't know. So
You came around and didn't. Thanks. That's great. It's fine. I'm good.
sorry, Chris.
Sorry.
Wow.
But
I'm going to
from
hear
what
about
I
this for the next
understand, all
3
the
weeks.
production has moved. I'm no longer the Uber anymore. I'm sorry, Jeff. What were you saying? Were you saying something, Jeff? I thought you were
It
saying.
was Dana.
No, I was saying I'm going to hear about this for the next 3 weeks. They didn't call me, Dana. What? I'm no longer part of it.
I'm sorry. Actually, no, I won't do that. That's spoiler.
But now that
Spoiler,
they
sorry.
moved it, like he said, like Chris said, it's no longer in his backyard anymore. They've moved it. So
I'm sorry.
So
Chris.
reportedly, it's moved to another
and I
quadrant.
believe actually I think I heard a rumor that it had something to do with some AFOL interacting with most of the Lego Master contestants that
Like,
they
why
felt they
is
needed
this-
to change studio locations.
What does this Nissan Rogue keep showing up over here at the hotel?
There are Google
Rogue
Earth
One
photos
squad.
that has that Nissan Rogue around the studio more often than you would think. So
Parked on the
It
street.
may have been
with
that
binoculars.
actual day I drove to the studio. Jake and I did. We drove down there and drove in the parking lot because nobody was filming. Well, we didn't. We just kind of drove up by there and they went, "Hey, that's that guy. We gotta go." So-
Oh, you know what? You know what else? It could be like the handlers are like shuttling the contestants into the holding room, the holding area, and they just look over at the side of the hill and they see this lone man like just standing there like this, and then they're like, "What?" And he goes, "Like I'm looking out for these people." So that scared him off. That's what happened.
That's what happened. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Thanks for being here. Thank you guys for being here. You guys have the perspective on the thing, and you've been in the room when the 1 hour is left, and you're building for your life to win and everything. No disrespect to anybody of the top or anybody on the season, especially the top three. We had issues, different issues caught our eye, different weaknesses we thought were bigger weaknesses and everything. I disagreed with the winner. But I'm not the one making that call and everything. But congratulations to all the contestants this year. Looking forward to another season, and the holiday special is going right now. So anyway, I'm not sure we're going to be back before Christmas. And all the holidays. So all the happies and all the things to all of y'all. Thanks for coming by and thanks for hanging out. Have a good night. Be awesome and build awesome.
Dana.
go get your
Nice.
goats. Go get your goats.